Welcome to the Final Score Network and the Final Score Podcast, presented by Team Anders Realtors. I'm Andy. He's former NCAA student athlete and co-host.
Ryan, jam! Two-hand monster flush! Off the inbound. Ryan, Gam, slam, jam.
Subscribe to us on Podbean, the Apple Podcast Store, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at TheFinalScore35 and TikTok at AGSpartanFan35. Oh, and one more note before we get started.
I'd like to apologize to anyone I've not offended yet. Please be patient. I'll get to you shortly.
Welcome into the 161st edition of the TFS Pod. Sad day. Football is over until the UFL starts in April. No, we won't probably watch too much of that, but maybe if we get too bored. But August, I guess, will be the next time we see the football we like on TV. So it was a fun season. We'll talk more about it here later on. But lots to discuss. As always, let's go to the podium. This happened last week. Trade deadline was last week for the NBA. We don't talk about the NBA. I want to talk about this because I think it's it's blasphemy is what it is. The Detroit Pistons, worst team in the NBA, had like the longest streak of all time this season, losing streak of all time, and haven't fired their GM. Their owner hasn't said a word. Tom Gore's his name, and their GM's Troy Weaver. And they let Troy Weaver make deals at the trade deadline. You were letting a lame duck GM decide the future of your team. He let go of draft. He got a bunch of second-round picks. Second-round picks in the NBA are nothing. They're like seventh-round picks in the NFL draft. They're nothing. They're 1 in 10 pan out. It's ridiculous. He traded away some players and didn't get really much for them. And he cut his first-round draft pick, Killian Hayes. I remember sitting in my college house senior year, and the Pistons could have picked Killian Hayes or Tyrese Halliburton, and they picked Killian Hayes. What's Tyrese Halliburton doing now? He's an NBA All-Star. He's averaging 20-plus points a game. He's a stud for the Pacers. He was a stud for the Kings until they traded him. I have no words. And the Pistons they're trash. A few years ago, I remember we had a podcast saying that we thought they had a bright future. It's kind of funny. They have the least bright future of any team in Detroit.
By far.
Terrible.
By far. So today, anniversary-wise, a year ago marks a year to the day since the mass shooting tragedy at Michigan State University. Not so much sports-related, but my alma mater wanted to, just kind of do some remembrance. Obviously, 3 students lost. There was a student that was paralyzed who, actually James Harden, who, speaking of the NBA, I did a really good thing in reaching out to him and kind of befriending him and whatever. I still remember sitting there. We were in Holland at the condo when all this was going down, and you're listening to police scanners, and there was all this chatter on the radio, and it felt like there was multiple people, and they were running around campus and whatever. And it turned out to be, bad enough as to what it was, with 5 or 6 wounded and the 3 killed. And eventually the shooter, of course, as most do, cowardly take their own life. I just remember being on the edge of my seat thinking, this can't be happening at my alma mater. Like, we walked on campus as a family recently, and, it's a beautiful, serene place. And it's just a great reminder that tragedy happens and there's more important things than sports in the world. It also reminds you to keep things in perspective. And for those who want to mark it as an opportunity to politicize, no, it's not an opportunity to talk about gun control, because guns don't kill people. People kill people. We have a people problem in this country and in this world. I pray for this country and this world every day, because we have about probably 50 to 55% of the population has lost its marbles. It's a sad day. It's a little bit of a break from podium sports for me. We got plenty of sports to talk about today as football winds down, as Ryan said, but just wanted to mark that. It's been a year. Chris mentioned it to me today. It's kind of hard to believe. It's quickly it goes out of your mind. Ryan and I happened to be at the game last year when they were back, a week or so later. Played Indiana, lots of emotion in the building. It was kind of a dud start, and then Michigan State just, Tyson Walker, I remember, rescued the team, and I believe Joey Hauser played really well that game, and it was a reminder how sports can heal. So, hopefully it doesn't continue to take senseless tragedies like this to have sports heal. But yeah, I just wanted to call attention to that and shout out those that we remember today for losing their lives in the line of fire when they were just going to class one night.
Yep. Horrible tragedy. Prayers out to those families still going through that. We're all with you. All right, tee up. You said, who are we going to tee up? I said instantly, this one's for you, Mona. Travis Kelce. For many reasons, all season long, all of his antics.
The Pfizer jabs, the Taylor Swift garbage, all that aside.
And it came full circle at the beginning of the Chiefs-Niners game when he was physical with his coach.
He bum rushed his coach.
Yeah, because he wasn't getting the ball.
Let's put it this way. What would happen if you did that at your job?
Fired
and probably arrested for assault.
Probably
right?
never get another job.
I guarantee you, I would have been walked out the door by Holland police if that happened to me at work. And yet, because it's a big game and it's a football game and he's a key player, we just brush it off. Like I didn't even see Andy Reid make a reaction like he did earlier in the year. And that's sad. Like that's sad because what standards do we set? You know how many people watch that game?
For the kids.
Yeah, exactly. Like what is it? 155 million people or something like that worldwide watch the game. There's tons of kids running around watching that and emulating, and Travis Kelce is freaking everywhere, as is Kermit the Frog, a.k.a. Patrick Mahomes, who is a baller. And so they see them on State Farm commercials on what NFL net ticket, whatever, all the things that Kelsey's on, schlepping Pfizer, all these different things. And you're going to let him get away with that, and you're not going to call him out for that, and you're not going to penalize him for that. What message does that send to our youth? So how long until a high school player bum rushes his coach, maybe throws his helmet at him or at somebody else or whatever? People mimic their star, their heroes, their quote heroes, the stars. He is no hero. He's a piece of garbage. Not only is he dating a piece of garbage, he is a human garbage can of a person himself for that behavior on worldwide TV. Not just network TV, not Monday Night Football, worldwide TV. He should be teed up, thrown away, locked up, whatever you want to say. I'm done with him.
Yeah, just unacceptable. But here we are. No one said anything about it after the fact. Awesome. All right, let's get into Around the World. Spot number 1.
Might be one of our last Around the Worlds for a little while because we won't have as many spots.
Yeah, we could call it like the Final Four or something like that. I don't know. No more football to discuss after this. So let's go college basketball, as we have been for a long time, since November in this spot. Let's go Big Ten from last Tuesday, I guess, starting off, I think. We were speaking in the middle of the Rutgers-Maryland game. Maryland lost that game. Rutgers has played really well. We can start with them, I guess. They're probably one of the hottest teams of the Big Ten, probably my biggest mover. They're playing really good defense. They're shooting it a little better, kind of coming to life.
They're setting up more for next year with what they've got, coming in recruiting-wise, like the number 3 recruiting class in the country, which is crazy to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2 top 5 players on their team coming in. Maryland, they're one of my biggest fallers. We thought, going into the season, they were going to be a top 5 team in the Big Ten.
Can't score the basketball.
Can't score.
Good defensive team. We saw it at Michigan State, but they can't. So they got 2 guys that can score. That's it.
Yeah, I mean they're not very good. I'm sorry.
No, I dropped them in my power poll to below that potential line of teams that could get in the tournament, and I have I've got it at 7, maybe 6, likely 7, maybe out of the Big Ten now.
Yeah, I mean,
I had it at 8, 8 with a chance, and that team's without a chance unless one of these teams runs it in mini in March. Ain't gonna happen because that includes Michigan, who I've dead last. Although last week they beat Wisconsin, nice win for them, and then they got absolutely curb stomped at Nebraska, and they're getting curb stomped, I believe, again tonight by Illinois. They're just a bad basketball team. They caught coached. Wisconsin in a major rut.
Wisconsin went I think they went 4 for 25 from 3, and they're all
they've
wide open.
They've been not shooting the ball very well lately and lost 4 in a row. Ohio State, 13th.
Terrible.
You know, like Ryan's been saying for a while, and I didn't necessarily agree that Holtman might be on the hot seat. I don't know. I mean,
they're not good.
They're not very good.
Big one
They've got some decent talent. Yeah, they got a big one tonight against
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
They have a very talented roster. They have. It's kind of embarrassing.
It's just there's no cohesion there. Penn State, I've said all along, I like Penn State. I'm not thrilled to play them tomorrow night at Penn State. We don't play well there. Michigan State sucks on the road anyway, but I like Penn State's team. I just don't know that they've got the cohesion. Maybe they're a year away, but I like their pieces and parts. Rutgers, Ryan talked about, they've been playing well lately.
Playing well.
Indiana got absolutely
Woodson, his butt's getting a little hot.
Trashed by Purdue.
There.
Yeah, I mean, they're not very good. Now, they don't have Xavier Johnson. That hurts them a little bit, clearly.
I don't know how much of a difference that
But I mean, against Purdue, it wasn't going to make a difference. And the thing is they have some size to match up with them, too, and it didn't work. Iowa, they're one of those teams, like, every year they can score. Like, they were down, 20 against Minnesota the other day and came back and won. I mean, just like Michigan State last year, they can do it, but they don't play a lick of defense.
Yeah.
They're a team that could get hot in mini. I think out of that group, Iowa, maybe Penn State has a chance, or maybe in Maryland.
Iowa's an enigma. I mean,
but they're like 14-10, right? Like they're just not. They're not.
They can't play defense.
And then I had Maryland at 8, and any of those are really, minus probably Michigan, are interchangeable, 8-13, honestly, week over week. Minnesota, I have in that kind of bubble spot at 7. They had a huge win over Michigan State last week, Tuesday. We'll talk about that more in the State of State. But then who did they lose? Oh, Iowa. They blew a huge lead with Garcia on the bench because he was hurt.
Yep.
And clearly that made the difference because they blew a 20-point lead and they lost that game. But Minnesota, I think, still, they're one of those teams that can make a run in mini. They've got kind of a sneaky good squad, and Ben Johnson's done a really good job there.
Yeah, he is.
Nebraska, they are definitely the Jekyll and Hyde home and away. They are hard to beat at home. I turned it on the other night. It was 30-10, and then it was 43-10. It was like against Michigan. I mean, they got guys can shoot. They're actually fun to watch. They've got an offense with some back cutting.
Is really fun.
They can shoot the 3, but they don't really force dumb shots. They don't particularly rebound or play very good defense
as much anymore. He doesn't do it.
No, and he's got range though. So I've got them. Michigan State. Look, they split last week. They really should have gone 2-0. They got a huge win against Illinois, a must-win against Illinois. I still think Michigan State's probably one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the Big Ten. They just need to prove it the rest of the way because they've been wildly inconsistent. And what you saw Saturday, you could see the same thing too. You don't know what you're going to get. You're going to get Tuesday Michigan State that scores 56 points and blows the lead because A.J. Hoggard played with his head square up his ass, or do you get great Michigan State that beats a top 10 team?
And looks like they can be a second weekend team.
Looks like they could be a second weekend team, and lo and behold, A.J. Hoggard decides to play defense, and aside from missing 8 really bad shots, makes a lot of free throws and plays well and helps carry Michigan State to a victory. Like, which one are you going to get? That's why I said last week in my podium, I hate this team. Like, they're my least favorite Izzo team because they're too inconsistent. It wouldn't surprise me if they go 0-2 this week. It wouldn't surprise me if they go 2-0. I just don't know what to expect. Northwestern still I like too. They're cohesive.
Yeah, they're fun. They're good.
Bowie didn't play particularly well last weekend, but after they lost a couple of tight, close games in a row, but some pieces and parts there are playing well. Ty Berry's out though right now with a knee injury. That could hurt them. Depends on if it's serious or not.
Go on for a while.
Wisconsin has fallen by the wayside. They got a big game to try to get it right tonight. They lost 4 games in a row. Yes, winning on the road is tough.
Talk about a free fall. I mean, they don't even look like the same team.
No, they don't.
They haven't. They can't score. They were scoring it well. Now they can't score. And their defensive rebound
uncharacteristically bad defense
and turning the ball over left and right. It looks like they ran out of momentum, and they're like, man, like, what do we do? It looks like that.
They rely on the 3-point shot, as a lot of teams do. Not too much, but they rely on it pretty decently with like Klesmit and some of those guys. And if the 3 ball's not falling, we've seen it with Michigan State. early in the season. I mean, they went 1 for 20 and they lost to James Madison as a result. Like if you're taking a lot of them and they're not going, like reset, go back to the swing offense there and get the ball inside to Crowell, who's a good post player, or, let Wall work the paint even a little bit or something. Like these teams that don't adjust off of the 3-ball when it's going south is like Michigan State finally kind of did that at the beginning of the season. They stopped taking 20 a game and started to take more. Like the other day, I think against Illinois, they only took 8 or 9. They're 5 for 8, and there's nothing wrong with that. Dominate the paint first, then shoot the 3, especially if you're not shooting the ball very well. Michigan State had not been shooting the ball as well of late, and they decided we're going to dominate the paint against Illinois, and that's what they did. So I don't understand why Wisconsin's not doing that. Guard's a better coach than that. I still think Wisconsin can be a tough out, depending on the matchup, but they've got to find their mojo on offense, and they've got to start playing some Wisconsin defense again. I still think Illinois is the second best team. I think they're super talented. When Hawkins is out there, he can guard 5 spots. They've got a nice balance and mix of guys that can score and shoot the ball a little bit. I mean, they scored 80 points against Michigan State.
Yeah, they can score.
One of the better defensive teams. So, and then Purdue is whatever. They're Purdue. I think I might have mentioned this last week. I got into it on TikTok a couple weeks ago with some numbnut Purdue guy about whether Edey sits in the paint. I actually fell asleep the amount of times I was counting that he was camping in the paint against Indiana the other night. He just, trust me, he does it. He does it a lot during the game. Purdue's hard to beat when you can't move him out of the paint. And they got guys like Smith, who's playing really well, turns the ball over a fair amount, but actually he got really hot against Indiana. They're kind of rounding into form. Still wouldn't surprise me if they've got to rely on the refs so that they don't make it out of the first weekend again. So we shall see.
Yeah, college basketball at large. Kansas is kind of free falling.
They had a big win against
Baylor, then they turn around and lose to Tech by a lot, 29.
Yeah,
scored 50 points. It's like just winning on the road in college basketball this year is the hardest it's ever been.
I think that I saw a stat the other day in the Big Ten, something like 31 or so more road losses this year than last year in the Big Ten alone. Like, it's really, really hard. So, we rip Michigan State for not being able to win on the road. That's because they've blown games on the road. Not that other teams haven't, but it's exceeding. I mean, the amount of top 10 teams that have lost this year in basketball.
It's insane.
I mean, Michigan State has a couple of top 10 wins this year in basketball, and also was a top 10 team that lost. So it's crazy. It really truly is crazy. So before we move on in basketball, Spot 1 in Big Ten Power Rankings are presented by Norris Sports Group. NSG is a boutique agency of experts with 30 plus years of experience in sports sponsorship and much more. Learn more about them today at norrissportsgroup.com. All right, time for the weekly KenPom review. Again, teams in the top 40 on offense, top 22 on defense have won the Natty every year since KenPom, which is 2002. So this is the 23rd season of that, 22nd, I guess. They didn't play in the COVID year. So who falls into that category as of today? Not much change from last week. Nobody moved in. One moved out like a rock. Kansas dropped. They were 17-0, 19D. They actually improved a little bit on defense, but they dropped all the way to 46th on offense.
Yikes, guys. Scoring 50 will do that.
Scoring 50 will do that to you. So that just shows you how up-to-date the KenPom metrics are. But so in Purdue, 2 on offense, 13 defense. UConn, 3 on offense, 16 defense. Arizona, 4 on offense, 14 defense. Tennessee, 15 on offense, 7 on defense. Starting to get into teams that are a little bit better on defense. Houston, 16 offense, number 1 on defense. They had dropped a little bit on defense, but they're back to number 1. Auburn, 17 on offense, 4 on defense. Marquette moved up quite a bit this week. 21 on offense, 15 on defense. And Michigan State still hanging in there. 26 on offense, 22nd on defense. So right on the cusp. North Carolina, 27 on offense, 6 on defense. And they're in a little bit of a battle with Syracuse tonight. Again, I'll do a couple of don't count them outs. BYU, 9 on offense, 24 defense, so they're right on the cusp. Illinois, 6 and 31, so 6 on offense, 31 on defense. They're not far.
Speaking of Illinois, 77-46 with 10 minutes to go.
Wow. Duke,
Yikes.
8th on offense, 28th on defense. Watched them last night. They don't impress me that much. Michigan State should have beaten them earlier.
Yeah, I don't think they're unbeatable.
Creighton are right there too, 22 on offense, 26 on defense. I still have San Diego State in there, but I didn't actually check that metric, so I'm going to wipe them for the week. But yeah, a lot of fun things to be going on in college hoops. It's going to be wild and crazy. And I mean, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams currently. You know, if you play by those rules that have a chance to win, you know, fair. That's probably pretty fair that the national champion could come out of those teams. But there's a lot of basketball to be played, and it'll be really interesting when they get to neutral sites. How will the top 10 teams fare in neutral games as opposed to roadies? Because the road has been an absolute kryptonite for teams this year across the board. Minus like Gonzaga over the weekend beat Kentucky at Kentucky. And Kentucky's one of those teams, like they're like, would you say, Ryan, somebody compared them to Iowa? Great offense.
Yeah, they said
their
they're
defense
a rich
is
man's
horseshit.
Iowa.
Their defense is garbage.
So bad.
So bad.
That would be how many? What would be?
And you know, because if your offense goes quiet like Wisconsin's and you can't hang your hat on defense, that's why Wisconsin's on a 4-game losing
But here's
bender.
the thing: how many years would that put Cal on the hot seat? Because that would be 2020. They missed the tournament. 2021, they lost to a 15. Last year, they lost in the second round to Kansas State. And then this year,
Right.
they don't make the second weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Any more hoops?
No. I still think that UConn and Purdue are kind of the best.
I think UConn's the best team.
Purdue is the best in air quotations. I don't know if they will be in March, but UConn I think is definitely the best. It's a wide open race, beating it like a dead horse, but good Lord, it is fun mid-major teams to watch. If you haven't gotten the chance, Dayton, they're really good. They got a 6'10" 4-man that's going to be in the NBA. Deron Holmes' name. Florida Atlantic's really good. Indiana State's, I think they're tied now, but they're really fun to watch.
We saw them in person.
St. Mary's is actually a really good team.
Gonzaga is not dead yet.
Nope. Utah State's good, really good. Colorado State, San Diego State. The Mountain West is a great conference. They're going to probably get 5 or 6 in the tournament. How about this one? Grand Canyon, 13 AP votes, and they're in the WAC.
Wow.
They're really good. That's
the old fighting Dan Marley.
That's going to be a team you don't want to play in March. UNC Wilmington, another team you wouldn't want to play in March. Coming up quick, folks. How many days away is that? Let me count on my trusty calendar here. So we got 1, 2.
Should be like 31 to selection Sunday.
33 days.
33, yeah. Nice.
Coming up real fast. Almost halfway point of February after tomorrow. So
You gotta get that extra day this month,
Yep.
so take advantage of it.
all right, I think that's all I have. We're going to move on to
Yeah,
mailbag.
little spot 2 hodgepodge mailbag. I stuffed the mailbag with some questions this week. We didn't get any from old boy Mitchapalooza. One from Chris, though. Let's look up a little Michigan State football. If Jonathan Smith beats Ohio State and Michigan in his first season, he's blank.
The legends. I'm just kidding.
I mean, has
mean,
anybody done it? I don't think so.
No.
D'Antonio didn't do it, right?
No,
he beat
Mel-
Michigan in his
Mel
first
didn't do
season.
it.
Mel beat Michigan his first 2 seasons.
Didn't beat Ohio State. Though. He won't. I'm sorry. Ohio State's going to be the best team in the Big Ten.
They better be, because they bought Chip Kelly, which we'll get to here in a minute.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
They bought half of Alabama's roster. So, yeah, legend. I would agree with that. All right, so speaking of that, thoughts on Chip Kelly leaving a head coaching gig at UCLA to take the offensive coordinator gig after Bill O'Brien left for the Boston
Shows
College
you-
job.
Didn't I talk about this on the pod last week? How coaches are leaving because they don't want to do all the work. Well, he left for a job where he doesn't have to do a lot of work.
Yeah, and he doesn't have the scrutiny, right? Like Ryan Day is maybe finally figuring out that he should be the CEO and not the OC. Where does that put Hartline? He was the OC before.
Yeah, you might wonder if that would anger him. I mean, he'd obviously probably be okay with it. I don't know.
But he was the OC last year, so it's a step down for him. He's not going to make as much money as a receivers coach. Does he leave? I don't know. Is it a step for Chip Kelly to go somewhere else? Is it that he's just done with being a head coach and dealing with the recruiting and and not that you don't recruit as an office coordinator, but like, is he done with kind of dealing with all the, the CEO BS with NIL and everything, the transfer portal? I think he found in a hurry that the sports fans in LA are super apathetic when it comes to, college sports, minus maybe UCLA basketball, maybe. And he's playing in a third full Rose Bowl, so he's playing at the granddaddy of them all, and more than half of it's tarped off.
Embarrassing.
You can't beat him, join him, right? Like, he wasn't going to do anything as UCLA's coach with them moving to the Big Ten, so let's just go to Ohio State. And, he's a good offensive mind, so it'll be super interesting to see what happens there. But, yeah, that's kind of an indicator of, guys just don't want to mess around with it anymore. Guys maybe that are getting a little bit later in their coaching career, maybe they're like, you know what, I'd rather just have the assistant job. And I've said all along, like, it's not bad to just be an assistant. Like, Ben Johnson decided not to chase the head coaching glory because the job wasn't right. It's okay to be a really good, sought-after offensive or defensive coordinator at college or pro. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. Not everybody's a head coach. I mean, we have good proof of that in Rockford. Longtime varsity assistant Ryan DeKuyper, great coach, left twice to take on his own, high school head coaching gigs, and he just couldn't do it. He just couldn't do it. He couldn't even get to the season. It's a whole nother stress level. It's okay to be an assistant coach. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. You get less of the headache. You get along with the players a little bit better than the head coach. You get less of the blame. It's an interesting move, and I think Daub put it right. If Ohio State doesn't win the national championship, everybody should be fired and they should blow up their program, because they did everything in their power to set themselves up to win.
Beat Michigan to win a national title. Crazy.
All right, switching gears to a golf question. Is the waste management as we know it done after the behavior issues this year? So for those who don't know, who don't follow golf, the Waste Management Open, legendary in Scottsdale for the Coliseum, the 16th hole. It's a very it's a raucous crowd. It's unlike any other PGA crowd. It's usually kind of somewhat corralled and contained,
this year
over
was out of
exuberance.
control.
Yeah, like Saturday, because the weather was kind of screwy, there were less gate entry points, and they just like let the inmates run basically, and they had 500,000 people on the golf course. That's
kind of
insane.
their fault, though.
It is their fault, and it got out of control, and they had to shut down the booze. Look, I think it's just kind of a circumstance. That that's a risk. Generally, it's not going to happen.
It's the people's open.
Players were a little bit more irritated than usual. Zach Johnson is an example. Actually, Horschel was tired of it a little bit. He was more standing up for one of his playing partners. The guys were talking during the swing. It's definitely a different environment. It's not for everybody. Zach Johnson couldn't take the heckler, asking him, comparing him to his coaching dad to something. I can't remember what it was. It was kind of funny about his Ryder Cup coach. Oh, he compared him to Urban Meyer. I think the players kind of had it a little bit. I think they'll dial it back. They'll look at it and go, all right, where do we need to be a little bit more on security? Because the 16th hole was a lot more tame on Sunday than typical. So, and it was still packed, right? But that said, we can talk about this more in golf too, but I loved Kiz and Smiley being stationed at the 16th hole. Oh. Like, if Kiz doesn't get the NBC gig, they're dumb, because he's great. He's awesome. All right, here's a question. I was going to talk about this on the podium until I decided to honor Michigan State with it. Should the Monday after the Super Bowl be a national holiday?
Only if your team wins.
I think it should be a national holiday. Here's why. Look, that game starts at 6:30, which is really 6:40, and you got an extra long halftime, and this game went to overtime. And the game alone, and I turned it off because I didn't want to see any more Taylor Swift and her devil-worshipping friends that were in the stands with her. I didn't want to see any more of that, and so I didn't even watch the post game. Like, if you watch All In, and we didn't watch pregame either because of the extra national anthem, which is absolute horse shit as well. I'm sorry, I'm going to say that right now. Like, we're America, we have one anthem. You want to, in NFL, have end racism in your end zones? How about you don't single out a race then with their own national anthem? And I think every TikTok I saw agreed. Just an idiotic move by the NFL, but whatever, on the political scale. But that game is like, it's a 5-hour affair, and you got Super Bowl parties, and people got to go to work the next day. You have President's Day coming up next week. Only half of like banks and government get that off anyway, really. Schools use it to their advantage for midwinter break, but why not? Just give them the Monday after the Super Bowl. Like, all the schools can do their midwinter break around Super Bowl weekend, and it could just be a big party weekend for everybody. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, we used to, when I worked at Amway, we actually got to vote on our floating holidays. It didn't make it in every year, but there were years that you could pick
That's
the Monday
cool.
after as a floating holiday.
That's cool. That's
Which is
a good
kind of a
idea.
cool thing
Instead
to
of
do.
doing like I don't know, like the 3rd of July when it's on a Thursday or something
Right.
like that. Like
Right.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and by then you're kind of ready, right? Like, you haven't had a break since Christmas, New Year's. You're balls to the wall at work for the first 6 weeks of the year. Why not? Just give us an extra day off.
There's no
long weekend.
most normal companies don't get any days off until Memorial Day.
Right,
So.
right, exactly. Because some companies will give you Good Friday. Some, again, banks and
MLK.
government will give you MLK or President's Day, but not many, not the masses, not the norm. So, all right, we're going to go off. This is probably more like an old school when I wrote the sprint question, and I gave Ryan a little bit of a heads up on this one. What is the best song released in your birth year?
1999. I looked. There weren't a lot of songs that I really like or thought were great.
Care to hitch your wagon to?
But the two that stood out to me most was "Still Dre" by Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and then one of my favorites when I was a little kid, classic Mambo Number 5. That was like the most popular song
that's
that year,
funny.
I think.
All right, I was a little bit luckier. I had a toss up between Piano Man by Billy Joel and Dream On by Aerosmith. And then,
Good
I mean,
songs.
I even had other songs like Radar Love in there by Golden Earring. I mean, there's a lot of good songs from 1973. So, songs that are turning 51 this year. Talk about crazy for that. All right, and the last hodgepodge mailbag question. Tiger's new brand, fire or
It's complete fire. I love it. It's outside the box. It's sweet. I want one of those sweatshirts. Probably be like $150.
Is it like the
bucks,
tiger
but-
print, tiger
Yeah,
looking
it's
logo or whatever?
It's pretty
Yeah.
sweet. I want to get a hat or something. when it
Sun,
comes out.
not Sunday, Sunday Red is what it's called, right?
Yeah.
Not Sunday the day.
No,
Sunday Red.
Space Day Red. That's pretty sweet.
I honestly haven't looked that much at it. I just saw a red shirt with the tiger logo, and I'm just
Pretty
you're
sweet.
so used to seeing Nike. I mean, flipping because TaylorMade is Adidas, right? So like to see him in Adidas, that's pretty crazy. That's like Michael Jordan going from wearing Jordans to Converse or Jordans to
back in
Adidas
the day.
or Jordans to Chuck Taylor's or something. It's kind of crazy, but yeah. And Tiger's playing this weekend. So
Yeah. Well, speaking of Tiger,
speaking of which,
hey, guess what? Tigers baseball spring training starts this week.
oh man, that's right. It is spring training.
Tigers are
time
going to be a good
already.
squad. Actually, might be fun. Could compete in the.
Man, I remember when I was a kid, and I would have been able to tell you spring training, and I would listen to when Ernie and Paul would broadcast the games from Lakeland. Like, I would listen to spring training games, and my dad's oldest brother did a Tigers fantasy camp once, and got to dress in full uniform, and
That's
as
actually
a
cool.
fan, and like I wish baseball could get back to what it was for me as a kid in the 80s and 90s. It's a different game. I don't know. Maybe if the Tigers, for a while when the Tigers were really good, I kind of got more into it and watched them. But I haven't watched a game in the summer in years. I really
We
haven't.
don't have Bally, but
I mean,
They
and listening
suck.
on the radio when I was a kid, like I would in Indianapolis, I could catch WJR at night, and I would fall asleep listening to the Tigers. And I mean, it was fun. I knew all the players. I could still recite the lineups, and so hopefully we'll see. We'll get there. And we'll throw in there in the hodgepodge too. Red Wings, they're making a push for the playoffs.
Playoff
They had a
push.
nice win over Vancouver. They've got a kind of a good West Coast or West Canada road trip this week against some good teams like Calgary,
Yeah.
Vancouver, Edmonton. So it's a chance to continue to build their playoff mojo, I guess, if you
Yep.
will. All right, moving to golf. Waste management recap. It was unfortunate that because of weather delays and stuff, it butted so far up against the Super
Nick
Bowl.
Taylor.
Nick Taylor. I was rooting for Hoffman, I'll say, just because he's a waste management spokesperson.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been since like 16 that he won. But I mean, it wasn't, he didn't choke. Taylor went 3 birdies in the last 3 holes, right? Or in the last 4 holes to get in the playoff.
Good for him.
And actually had to overcome on the first playoff hole not a very good drive compared to Hoffman. And the second playoff hole, Hoffman put in the church pews and then had a much longer birdie
This
putt.
guy's
and
good,
won it.
man.
So,
He's played a lot of good
it's
golf.
kind of his home away from Canada. It's where he settled, so he's a little bit of a
I like
local
his
favorite.
game. I mean, this was a heck of a leaderboard. I mean, Scotty's up there, Sam Burns is up there,
Justin was
JT
up there.
was there, Spieth was up there for a little bit. This was a whale of a tournament. It's a fun course because there's some shorty par fours with water.
You can get in trouble, but you
some
can also
fun
get
par
it.
threes.
Right?
Yeah, like you can. I mean, obviously, people scored 21, 22 under.
No hole in
basically
ones, I
won.
don't think, on 16
No,
this year.
some close, but that was fun. Getting to the Smiley and Kiz thing, they should do that. Those two are unbelievable together. That was
They
fun.
really are,
They were.
yeah.
They're funny. They know their stuff. They're friends with the guys that are already playing, so they have insights.
Yep.
They'll give you in layman's terms if you don't know if you don't know golf as well. They're just fun to listen to. I hope that they keep. Smiley's been on it for a while, but I hope they keep Kiz. But I want to see Kiz play a little bit because he's fun to watch.
Yeah,
too,
he is
so.
fun to watch play. So how do we? I had to make an emergency pick because Lucas Glover misread his email and no showed his tee time. So Ryan let me switch. I switched to Scheffler.
Yeah, we'll go with this one. Your guys combined 8th to Gall and Scheffler. My guys combined 6th. Scheffler and Burns both tied for 3rd.
Oh, really? Burnsy finished ahead of Thigala. Nice.
Yep. So good weekend by both of us. Brings us to the Genesis at
Tiger
Riviera.
Woods playing this.
Tiger Woods event. Genesis at Riviera, one of the most beautiful golf courses just in LA. Lots of elevation changes. Kind of George Wright, he's the creator of the course. He's the same guy that created LA Country Club where the US Open was last year.
I wonder what the rain, they had last week the same storm that gave Phoenix 45-degree weather and tons of rain. LA had as much rain in 2 days as they get in a typical year because of the Pacific, river or whatever they call it, the atmospheric river. I haven't heard that the course is in bad shape, but it was also really windy and stuff. So I would imagine they've had a little time to dry it out and such.
Yeah,
but
let's look at the weather. It's in Pacific Palisades, California. This sounds cool. It's in a neighborhood.
Yeah, some famous people play there.
It's very lucrative. This week, Thursday 63 and sunny, Friday 64 and sunny, Saturday 62 and sunny, and Sunday 62 and a slight chance of rain. So pretty decent weather.
Pretty decent weather, yeah.
Good golf weather. Not too hot, not too cold. But yeah, Tiger's making his return. Should be fun.
Rory, he hasn't played in a while. He's playing.
Yeah, Rory's is playing. It's an elevating event. So
Homa, that he won it last year.
Yeah. Well, my picks are Homa and JT. Homa's he's a homegrown kid, LA kid. So
I'm gonna go with Burns because he's been playing pretty well anyway, and he played well last week. And I'm gonna go with another guy who actually played well last week, Cameron Young.
All right, I like it. He's due to win. He hasn't won yet on tour. It's a matter of time for him. But yeah, there's that. I think it's number 10 at Riviera. It's the short par 4 that's elevated. One of the best holes on the tour.
It's one of those that you can get a eagle, try, or a birdie, or you can take a 6. It's very much like, what is it, 15? Yeah, 15, the par 5 at TPC Scottsdale, where it's it's a 2-shotter, but you could take a 3 or you can take a 7.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it just kind of depends on your bounce, how you play it.
Or we saw, was that 18 when Scotty actually he putted off the green?
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
That was crazy. And
that doesn't happen too often to those guys.
Does not happen very often. Into a sand trap.
That made me feel good about myself.
Yeah, that looked a lot like us. So now here's a golf one for you that I saw. So I don't watch Live at all. Apparently they had a tournament in Vegas this weekend. DJ won. The only thing that caught my eye was that Rahm and his caddy were throwing a fit about camera phones and noise and whatever. And remember that the theme for Live, the tagline is golf but louder. John, that's what you get for selling your soul to the devil and taking all that money. And you can say it was more than the money. You played all the things that you ripped on, you played in, and then you complain about the people. I'm sorry, you went and took however many hundreds of millions of dollars to go play there. You don't get to complain anymore. The Saudis got you by the short and curlies. You just shut up and put up. That's what I got to say to you, Rahm. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear you complaining because the only place that doesn't really play out in the PGA Tour, you could choose not to play, and that is the waste management, unless it's an elevated event. So, speaking of golf too, a little disappointed in the West Michigan Golf Show this year. It was like half the size. Most of our local courses weren't there. The deals were I did get 3 golf gloves for the season for a pretty good price.
Yeah, no, the golf show was poop.
Yeah,
it was the worst I've ever seen.
Yeah, it just wasn't all that good. So
small. It's just
no, like, in Michigan in the winter, you want to like see some Florida courses. Like get the Florida,
or South Carolina,
Orlando, or Myrtle
used to
Beach,
do that.
or
They used to have. I remember 2 years ago.
They probably just didn't get any action.
I still get emails from travel agencies in Florida that said you signed up in 2021 or whatever 2022.
Yeah.
It sucks, but whatever. Hopefully they can improve. There weren't even a ton of courses for around here that were worth a crap.
No, I saw some post-show specials from
like the mines
and stuff that weren't there, but yeah, interesting. All right, now a word from our presenting sponsor. Team Anders Realty will help you find the home that fits your wants and needs, and they make the process simple and fun along the way. The Anders have served thousands of clients for 30-plus years in the West Michigan area and are here to serve you today. Learn more at teamanders.com, our faithful 3-year title sponsor. All right, spot number 4, State of State. Any football you got? Ryan, any updates? Signing day was
last week.
Got a kicker.
No surprises, really.
3 guys, right? A kicker, a tackle, and a receiver.
Yep. Yeah, we're should be fun. Prairie A&M's on the schedule for next year. That's our last game, so we're at least going to go 1-11.
They'll be better than that. But
that's good. No, 5.5.
They were 6-6 on the FCS. They weren't that bad. There was a time when I was young that they lost like 60-some games in a row.
5.5's the over/under on FanDuel.
I'll go over.
I think 7-5 is very
I think
very attainable for Michigan State. But no, like what Coach Smith is doing. I think it's going to be a fun season for the Spartans.
So before we get into basketball, because we got plenty to talk about with basketball, a little shout out to MSU hockey. They currently have a 3-game win streak against Michigan.
Down the road,
First time they've had a win streak against Michigan since like 2016. They are atop the Big Ten by, I think some said 5. I think it's 4 points. Wisconsin does have a game in hand. It's probably going to come down to the last series of the year, which is at Wisconsin. I think Michigan State only has 4 games left. They think they have this weekend off.
Wisconsin and Ohio State, I think.
Yeah, Ohio State at home next weekend. They have kind of a bye weekend this weekend, and then Wisconsin. Michigan State pairwise is number 6, so they're virtually a lock to make their first NCAA tournament since 2012. I saw the other day Boston College is ranked number 1. The last time Michigan State won the national title was in 2008. They beat Boston College. Maybe, but won 5-1 in Ann Arbor, and then they've actually won 2 games in a row in Ann Arbor for the first time in forever. Yeah. And then won the D whatever trophy. I can't remember what they were calling it.
The
derail or D something. I don't know, but and that was actually a really good hockey game. 3-2, fun to watch. I remember that I was on in second period and I watched the last 2 periods, and it's been a long time since I watched that much of a college hockey game. And Michigan State's a fun team to watch. They're the youngest team in the NCAA. Their goalie was the 2nd round pick by the Red Wings. He's 18 versus Michigan's goalie was 25, older than Ryan. Guy's like 6'1", and he's really good. So that was fun to watch. Basketball was another one of those weeks. Tuesday, I was ready to never watch Michigan State again. We'll sum this up. Great first half. Tyson Walker goes down and pretty heavily aggravates the groin injury he's been dealing with, and AJ Hoggard decides, I'm going to play 1-on-5 for the next 3 minutes. He took 5 god-awful shots. He turned the ball over. Let's put it this way. He had 5 assists, no turnovers, no shots in the first half. He had 4 points, all on free throws, I believe, on 1 for 5 shooting and no assists and like 3 turnovers in the second half. He lost Michigan State that game. There's a reason why he's my least favorite Michigan State player ever. And that's including what I saw on Sunday or Saturday against Illinois, because he was still 5 for 13 shooting. That's about 5 too many shots. Yes. Did he come up big? Yes. Did he make free throws? Yes. Did he make better decisions? Yes. Did he play defense for the first time really all season? Yes. And that's the AJ Michigan State's going to need, and the one that I'm going to have to live with. That's the only way I can live with him is if he does that and not just at his own will.
Can't keep
But
turning it off and on.
He flat out, Holloman didn't play very well. Hall had probably his worst game since the Northwestern game against Minnesota. Walker got dinged up again. It wasn't a great game for Michigan State. Minnesota's tough on the road. I get all those things. Not a game Michigan State should have lost. And it's 100% because AJ and Tom called him out on it in the press conference. Maybe they had a couple. I read an article today. They had one of the worst team meetings and worst practices ever for 2 days straight after that Minnesota game. Maybe that got him right. Hall certainly woke back up. He's been great. I've got no.
I mean, it's okay to have an occasional bad.
Yeah, I mean, teams are keen on him and whatever. Michigan State has no other post game, right? Because
Kohler's not good.
Still is not that great. Cooper is what he is, right? Like he's great at getting rebounds. He's
dunker.
Can dunk. He can protect the rim a little bit. Sissoko should not be playing. He had to have been minus. He had to have been minus against Illinois.
He has become unplayable. He fouls. He can't catch passes. He travels. He doesn't play defense. He sets moving screens. He misses assignments.
Yeah,
I get he's a great guy. What he's doing is great. He's got a great story. Can't play basketball. He's not a Big Ten basketball player. He's not. Yeah. He should not be playing more than 7 or 8 minutes a game off the bench to provide depth and fouls against Zach Edey.
And the thing is if Tom went to the portal or Tom recruited a big guy that wasn't a project, Cooper is a perfect come off the bench
great backup
guy or give you minutes if there's foul trouble guy. But Cooper is backing up Sissoko, who's horrible. And Kohler, who's just doesn't have the speed and athleticism. He's got some footwork and skills on offense. Yeah, I'll give you that.
He's a decent rebounder for
a decent rebounder. But, again, Booker doesn't play. He was our best plus-minus guy against Minnesota, and he didn't play against Illinois.
Carr played a little more against Illinois, but still not enough, I don't think.
Akins
is playing a little better.
Yeah, Akins was playing well against Minnesota. And when, I say this, when this lineup is on the floor, when you've got Akins, Walker, Hogard, Hall, and then whoever the big guy is, Kohler, Cooper, Mahdi, it should go 1 Walker, 2 Hall, 3 Akins, 4, a distant 4 AJ, 5 the center. And if Kohler, I would say 5 AJ. Against Minnesota, AJ was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And while Akins was red hot.
Yeah.
He's why they lost. And I'll give him credit. He's also why Michigan State, a big part of why they won. I mean, it was the 3 seniors all together, honestly. Walker, uncharacteristically, he's not been a very good free throw shooter this year, which is garbage because he's such a sweet shooter. But talk about consistency, 35, 36 games in a row with double figures now.
Pretty unbelievable.
I've seen some of the best in person at Michigan State at scoring. Respert, we watched Kalen Lucas for his 4 years. There are some really good names on there. Smitty. Walker is flat out a dude. He can score. And imagine if he actually was shooting 80+% from the free throw line instead of 68% or whatever.
He'd be averaging 24.
He would. And here's the funny thing is it was reunion Sunday. I loved it. Cleves was wearing a Smitty jersey. Smitty grabbed Tyson after the Illinois win and shot free throws with him. And Tyson, by the way, made 96 out of 100 free throws. So translate that to the game. But how cool is that Steve Smith, Michigan State legend, took the time to pull another player and say, hey, look, this is going to be important for you this year. Coming down the stretch, I'll rebound for you. I'm sure it happens elsewhere, but does it? Does that happen like it does at Michigan State?
Pretty cool.
We have all those guys back. It is very cool. So I know Mona likes the grades for the week. I'll give Akins an A. He played two good games.
Hall, A-.
A- because the Minnesota game was a dud.
Sissoko, F. Yeah. Cooper, B.
Yeah, B.
Kohler, C.
Yeah.
Walker, I'd give him a B+. He needs to make his free throws. Hogard,
C. He was an F against Minnesota, and he was.
I'll give him a C+ because he made some key plays to beat Illinois. If he didn't make those plays, I don't know if we win.
Yeah, down 8 with 5-6 minutes to go, and they win.
He played well. Carr incomplete, Booker incomplete.
Carr both incomplete, but both played decent.
Holloman C-. He was terrible.
Yes, Holloman's been a little bit of a funk. He's got a lot on his shoulders with Fears out, and not having Fears is starting to kind of bite Michigan State a little bit because with Fears, Izzo could have and probably would have quickly pulled Hogard against Minnesota and swapped out Fears and then changed things up. But he couldn't. He was not in a position where he could do that. And here's the thing. Valenti talked about this. Like, you have timeouts, and Ryan and I talk about this. You have timeouts for a reason. Freaking call them to quell these runs. Like, I get a little bit tired of sitting on all those timeouts till the end of the game.
Yeah. They don't
That
carry
drives me
over.
crazy.
Not cell phone minutes down.
Yeah, exactly.
All
All right,
right.
anything else on hoops?
No, let's
on
real
Michigan
quick
State?
do Super Bowl. Really good game. It was, I mean, in terms of competitiveness, it was not that fun to watch. It was very
Yeah, it was kind of meh.
slow moving defensive battle. Some big plays, but of course, Kansas City in the end just comes. I literally said that to my friends. I said, I guarantee you in the end, Kansas City's going to find a way to win this because they're Kansas City. And that's what happened. They're turning into the Patriots. They are.
Yeah, there was some, and they did it a different way this year. Their defense was better. You know, there was some confusion after the fact. Did San Francisco know the new rules for overtime? I mean, how could you not? The referee only said it right
How would
there.
you not know that?
I tend to go with what Romo said was, you know, San Francisco's defense was tired, so they wanted to put the offense out there first. Personally, I would have gone defense first like you do in college.
Yeah, that's how I
You know, knowing that you're going to get a possession, what do you
Yeah, you're gonna
what do you
know
need
what you gotta do to
It
do
might
it.
change what you do a little bit. You know, love him, hate him, or whatever. Mahomes is a winner.
He's very good.
He makes plays. I'm tired of him. I think whatever for all the different reasons I've talked about before. But the dude, not because he's a winner, because he is a winner. He's a great quarterback, and at a young age, I'm just more tired of the Chiefs because of Kelsey. Honestly, like Mahomes, I could take or leave. His wife's kind of a, you know, whatever. You know, after you watch the quarterback thing on Netflix, but. Like, he's a winner. He's a gamer, and the way he trains and the way he sees things and the way he leads. You know, he didn't have the stud receivers this year that he usually does. And he found a way. He made plays with his feet. You know, hats off to the Chiefs. I felt bad for the Niners. You know, they played
Kyle
well.
Shanahan's been a part of 3 Super Bowl
Yeah,
losses.
they played well. You know, Debo Samuel gutted it out after he looked like he pulled a hammy.
Juwan Jennings was a stud for them.
Jennings, yeah, I mean, he was only the second player in Super Bowl history to have passed for and catch a touchdown.
Yeah.
Nick Foles.
Yeah.
It was the other
C-Mac
one.
was good. He was kind of dinged up too, though. Kittle didn't do much of anything.
No, I think Kansas City kind of took him out, and then when he got hurt, that hurt their pass blocking. Because here's the
Purdy
thing,
wasn't all
Kelsey,
that special either.
I'm going to tell you, people rave about Kelsey as being the best tight end. He's not. He's a great pass catching tight end, no question.
He didn't block.
He's not that good of a blocker. Like, I would take, why is his name escaping me for the Lions?
Laporta?
Laporta's a better blocker and an equally good pass catcher, and Kittle is an equally good pass catcher and a hell of a blocker. Like, Kittle absolutely destroyed Hutch numerous times when they played the Lions. So, yeah, I mean, great, a whole overtime. Yeah, funny, there had only been like 7 50-yard plus field goals in 57 previous years, and there were 3 in that game. And Moody sets the record with a 55-yarder, and then Bucker beats it with a 57-yarder. Like,
That's crazy.
Crazy. You know, halftime show, whatever. Commercials,
Not
like,
good.
I get it. So I talk to younger people, and they're like, oh, yeah, Usher was great. I only knew one of his songs. And, like, here's the thing. Like, don't pander to certain demographics, if you will. Like, 150 million plus people watch it, and I guarantee a lot of them are in my demographic. Like, I'm not saying you got to wheel out Aerosmith and Van Halen and whatever, but, like, get somebody that can kind of cross the generations a little bit better. Like, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and Eminem, I think is the best one still. Prince was awesome several years ago. Like, do better. I just think do better. Halftime's too long anyway, so maybe make it more like a pregame show. I don't know. I mean, takes the momentum out of the game anyway. Commercials, why they preview them ahead of time, I think is
they're horrid.
I don't think they were that great. Commercials used to be
To
awesome.
be fun. They're terrible.
I'm not a big fan of none of them stood out to me as great. Maybe Chow with the Popeye's wings.
I mean the movie, trailer for like Twisters, that looks awesome.
Yeah, that looks
but like nothing else looked good.
But that looked good to the ladies because Glenn Powell's in it. So
I want to watch it.
Yeah,
that looks
I do
awesome.
too, because it does look good.
Looks really good. Anything else? Hats off to the Lions beat the Super Bowl champs. Just gonna put it out
Yeah,
there.
ipso facto, the Lions win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we did, basically. All right, let's sprint it home. Best Super Bowl commercial. I know you can.
I mean, it's hard to say because none of them.
No, they weren't.
None of them stand out. Okay, I'll go with this one. I thought the Kawasaki party.
Yeah, I like that one with
party in the back,
with Stone
business in the
Cold
front.
and the dog. Yeah, that was kind of.
That was actually pretty creative.
That was probably my second favorite. I think the Popeyes one with
Popeyes,
Chow
yeah,
was
Chow
good. That
was
was
good.
funny.
Yeah.
I don't like Anheuser-Busch, but the Budweiser with the Clydesdales and the dog.
snow.
It's always,
Yeah, that was good.
Those are
Yeah.
always cute.
Yeah.
All right.
Bud Light definitely tried to make the play on we're not woke and trans anymore with their commercial.
Liars.
Uh-huh.
Homemade French onion dip or store-bought?
Homemade.
Yeah,
All
homemade.
day.
Reminds me of your
Lipton
dad.
French
Reminds me of your
onion soup.
dad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All day with ruffles. You can't have
No.
it's got to be
No,
thick,
you gotta have
unbreakable chips.
or the Better Made.
Oh, Better Made, even better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Michigan
brand.
Will Romo be replaced?
See, I thought he was pretty good in the
I think he's
Super Bowl.
fine. I think he's got one more year. If he sucks, they'll get rid of him.
Yeah, I don't think
Maybe
he was
bring
as
him
much
Olsen.
master. Look at Chris Collinsworth is
He's
worse.
trash. They should. Okay, if they're gonna bring Brady to Fox, put freaking Olsen on NBC.
Yeah,
He would
that
be
pisses.
fantastic
We
with
talked
Tirico.
about that. Brady has not proven
He's
to
a
me that he
weirdo.
can do it.
He's socially awkward
I just don't.
just because of his name. Like I get it. Like
He was in half the Super Bowl commercials too.
Ugh, he
Ridiculous.
bothers me.
Yeah.
Would you pay money to sit in the arena at the Waste Management on 16?
Oh heck yeah.
Yeah, I think I would too.
Yeah, just as the way that everybody like the buddy, it's almost like the Ryder Cup. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, I would do it. I wouldn't do it every year, but I'd do it once. I wouldn't drink like they do. I can't do that anymore. There's some pretty crazy videos of people, but
Yeah, there's crazy people. But that's it for this week. Let us know what you want to hear next week. Probably start doing a little more basketball, no more football really, unless anyone has any topics. I think next week, maybe since we don't have actual football in our Michigan State, we can talk about the transfer portal stats that we wrote down.
yeah, for
From
sure.
Michigan
Oh yeah,
State.
our little review of the
Yeah.
transfer portal. See you later, Mr. Ellis
yeah.
versus Welcome Back,
Yeah, that'd
Tyler.
be fun.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you guys listening. Share with your friends if you know anyone that'd be good. If anyone would be interested in a sponsorship, also love that too. Free golf. We can tell you.
We talk a lot about golf. We can use a golf
free
sponsor.
apparel. Well, I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
We're willing to do a
Maybe we
trade.
could make stickers. If someone gives us money, we could hand them out like computer stickers, phone stickers. You know, the sky's the limit.
Ryan made the logo, so good stuff.
Yeah.
All right,
Appreciate
meantime, in honor of a great Super Bowl, how the 49ers must feel afterwards and related to life in general. As Jalen Hurts said last year after the Super Bowl, the beautiful part is we experience different agony in life, and we decide how we want to move forward, how we want to learn. My only direction is to rise.